we'll talk about your water supply.
Alright, sorry, I know I'm in between you and drinks and networking, so I'll make this as quick as possible. But Edison did ask me to talk about a different type of problem, different types of technologies, and different types of solutions that can be fintech enabled. So let's start with the bad news. The bad news is the ADB thinks that in less than 10 years, the Philippines could be that the Philippines could be in a perpetual state of water crisis. Meaning, by, what is it, 2028, 2027, what happened about a month ago, 2 months ago, that could be our daily reality. The way to think about that, next, is actually an access. We're about the 100th best in terms of access to clean potable water. We have the most expensive potable water in Southeast Asia, and actually I believe all of Asia if you take out Bangladesh. Our water quality on average for potable water, which is what the water that people drink, is among the lowest in the world. We tend to destroy our own environment when we take out water, especially from deep wells. And whenever a disaster or typhoon comes, we are generally highly unprepared, and ill-preparedness in water and potable water generally leads up to death. Because up to 60 or 40 to 60% of all disaster relief is all about how getting clean water to those that are affected. Next slide. There's even worse news. The worst news is that today, 20 million of our countrymen are in the reality of a perpetual state of water crisis. Meaning, if you've been to Iloilo in the past 3 years, if you've been to any coastal town around Luzon or Visayas, you've generally been to a community that's in a state of water crisis, where they can't get cheap water cheap enough, or they can't get potable water every day out of the year. Next one. So that's why I formed this company, because I want to save people by giving them clean water. A water issue is a health issue, a water issue is a survival issue, and a water issue is certainly a socioeconomic one. Next slide. So I met some Dutch inventors, and then we kind of invented something. And what we invented is called the Hydra. The Hydra is a 20-foot container that it looks from the outside like any old water station where you can get a 5-gallon jug. But it's a little bit different, because the Hydra actually takes seawater and desalinates it and cleans it and turns it into potable water, which we sell off in jugs. You can power it renewably, off-grid, with solar, things like that, or you can connect it up to the grid and power it that way and desalinate water, make about 500 jugs per day, and then sell it into the community. I won't bore you with the science too much, but just to let you know, in the water, what's the most important number when you're cleaning potable water? The most important number is how much energy you're using to clean your water. The biggest desalination stations in the world, which are in Israel and California, that are desalinating billions of liters of water per day, desalinate at a rate of about 2.7 kilowatt hours per cubic meter. A cubic meter is 1,000 liters. A system the size like ours, until about 2 years ago, desalinates it for about 15 kilowatt hours per cubic meter. And we're at about 3.4. So we're a lot closer to mega scale at a micro scale, which means that we can produce water cheaper at the source of consumption than almost any other technology around the world. And we proved it. Next slide. We proved it by bringing to the market water that is high quality, yet low price, compared to your Wilkinses, your average water stations, and other places where people get the potable water outside of Metro Manila. Next slide. We put one up in San Juan, La Union. So if anyone's been surfing recently, and everyone's been to Flotsam and Jetsam, we're about a stone's throw away from there, less than 100 meters. You guys should check it out sometime. At our pilot, we produce about 12,000 liters of water per day. It's low cost. We keep it on 365 days of the year through typhoons. It's highly sustainable because we desalinate at a low enough level that we never harm the sea because we're not taking out too much water. It's the best quality around, and we've tested this multiple times. And as you'll see later, it survives almost anything. Next slide. This is important. The cheapest water that you'll find today, even in Metro Manila, which is where you can find the cheapest water, is about 25 pesos per 5-liter jug, right? A lot more is 35, 50, 100, 150, depending on the distill. We sell at 20 delivered, but in reality, most of the water that we sell in San Juan is on pickup. So we actually sell it for 10 pesos per jug, which represents an over 50% discount of clean, ultra high quality potable water that never runs out. It also means that the poorest people in San Juan, La Union now have financial access to clean water all year round. And the all year round matters. Next slide. Because last year, Typhoon Ompong went directly through San Juan. And all the water stations in San Juan were pretty much out of commission because trucks of water couldn't get to them. The pipes were experienced saline intrusion. There was no power, so they couldn't serve the water. But the good thing was, we had solar panels and we were still working. So for that week, we actually just gave away all of our water for free to the town, just to kind of prove a point that it's not just about making money. Even though we make money at the 10 pesos per jug, sometimes you gotta roll up your sleeves and just make sure people don't die of thirst. And that's kind of important. Next slide. What does this mean for the Philippines? Because it honestly doesn't mean that much for people that live in Metro Manila. I don't care that much about people that live in Metro Manila. We tend to be spoiled when it comes to water options. But what about the people in Cebu, in Iloilo, in Palawan, in Siargao, in Boracay? Well, what it means is that there's a new solution on the market that could help them get clean, cheap, potable water. Whether or not you're in a tourist town or a beach, you can potentially have access in your community to clean, potable water. That means you can set up your own business if you're a franchisee, providing water to your own community. And it also means that with clean, potable water, all sorts of things are possible, like ice, like bottled water, like pharmaceutical grade water, which they need in hospitals, or in agriculture, etc., etc. Next one. Now, what does this mean in terms of fintech? And how has fintech helped our business? Well, it's helped already in two ways. Very importantly, payments and mobile-enabled payments has been incredibly helpful for the end customer or the end consumer, as well as the delivery system. So the way that we set up our pilot, we actually don't do our own deliveries. We engage people in the community that have trikes or their own bikes to do the deliveries. And they're all on GCash most of the time, so we're on PayMaya. But having a mobile payment system enables us to keep our costs pretty low. At the corporate level, we're fortunate enough, because we are a startup, to have financing, working capital financing, receivables-backed loans, in a way that no other bank would really give us, because we're a startup. So that's all well and good, but of course, there's still a lot to be done, especially in the middle. Especially when we're talking about the machines themselves and the franchisees or the operators. So while banks might be able to do it, why aren't there fintech solutions for chattel mortgages? Why are there fintech solutions for leasing of physical capital like an Oryx, SME credit, franchisee credit, which already exists in some countries, and even commercial construction loans, which is actually fairly common here among other banks, but not necessarily common at the fintech level, simply because it tends to be more of a transaction banking thing. So let me leave you with this, and just to say, there are other problems that are actually fairly large in our type of environment. We are on the front lines of climate change, of changes in water, and we're going to feel it the most. But I also want to leave a message of hope that there are solutions out there that might work not just for the richest of us, but for the rest of the people, the ones that don't necessarily live in big cities. And it's something that can absolutely be enabled by a whole ecosystem of supporting industries, key to which is fintech that helps startups like us. Thanks.